What's up, you beautiful light beings?
Hey. That should be the way we start every episode.
What's up, you beautiful light beings?
Yeah, the way you said that was sick.
I like that. It kind of has a ring to it. Light beings.
Light beings. It almost sounds like one word. Light beings.
Dude, I don't know why. I just feel so good when I say that.
I kind of do too. Thanks, Alex.
Before we get started here, that is one of my mantras.
What?
I'm a light being.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Bro,
I like that.
I like that. Do you remember that video? Okay, so you remember back when we were in high school and early college years, and we
barely.
Yeah, barely. and we got really obsessed. It was this new internet culture of cringe videos. You know? When it first hit.
Yeah.
And I'm talking 2010, 2011. And there was this video that our mutual friend Josh showed me. And I may have showed you, but it's this weird ass video of this dude in green and blue makeup, and he's got a pickle on the table. Dude, I just got to show you. And he's he's talking about ham sandwiches. It's really weird, really abstract. And he's like, say my mantra with me. Do you remember that shit?
No.
He looked like old Greg, dude. So honestly,
we gotta find that.
Oh no, I can find it.
Oh my god!
Every time I say mantra, I think of this weird video.
Every time you say mantra, you think about that.
At least half the time, yeah. and back then when I was here, and it's very Eastern, it's a satire of spiritual stuff.
Oh.
You know, it's a really absurd video, and that's always in the back of my mind when I say mantra. Say my mantra with me. Dude, it is so weird. It's like old Greg shit.
I don't even know if I want to see the video because you do it so good.
It's gold.
Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah.
Dude,
I don't want to say mantra anymore.
It's one of those extreme shock cringe videos. But anyway, yeah. So the fascination I have for light beings, I don't know. It's weird because when we first started seeing these beings, I say we, obviously my dad and my brother saw them first, and they appeared as lights, they were glowing. And I actually pulled an old article where my dad had done an interview with MUFON back in 2013, a follow-up on his experience. And
follow up with the lady experience?
Yeah.
Nice.
after he started, talking about that publicly, more people started coming around, asking questions, and people out there might not understand the nuance of what I'm about to explain, but this was kind of a real issue. When Dad and Junior first came out with their experience, it caught the attention of, at the time, what you would say the UFO world, the UFO culture, whatever. And he was, traveling around the country, being a keynote speaker at all these conferences, even back then. And here's the funny part. I can't tell you how much we got harassed by so many people trying to convince us it's aliens. And from the start, Dad was it was an angelic experience. And his original report, in his write-up in 2008 to MUFON, he said, actually it was 2007 that he did the report. I'm sorry, documentary came out in 2008. Mm-hmm. And in 2007, in his original write-up, he said, I feel the experience was angelic. And there's been this whole thing about he changed his story.
Yeah.
First he said it was aliens, then he said it was angels. No, he, from the start, he said it was angelic. And
bro, I can tell you that the night that you and Jeremy told me about the experiences and stuff, you were already immediately telling me, Dad says they're angels. Dad says they're light beings. They're not like actual little aliens.
Yeah.
Immediate right off the bat, y'all were saying, I remember that night. Immediately, the first night, you guys telling me that.
Yeah, that from the whole, that's never changed.
Yeah, because I remember telling my parents about it, and the way that I told them about it was it's not an alien thing. It's angels. He says it's angels.
Yeah.
I remember it vividly. There was no changing of the story.
I describe it to people the same exact way too.
Yeah.
I'm they think it's angelic, and so church people don't like aliens, and alien people don't like church people. So
that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem. The church people hated us because they thought it was demonic alien shit. The alien people they were the worst.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the church people were the worst, but like the alien people hated us because they didn't like the spiritual shit. And like we were like literally in the bullseye target of controversy in the subject. But my point is, you know, from the start, Dad maintained that they were these angelic beings. They appeared as these glowing figures, and they told Dad that they serve creation. They are the guardians. They didn't say the word angel. They just gave him the impression.
Right.
You know,
they said that they work with creation.
Yes,
and
that was the words they used. We are the guardians. We serve creation, and we tend to humankind, or we tend to Earth like a terrarium, like a garden, and we maintain evolution throughout time and make sure that like you guys don't. If they didn't
kill each other.
Well, not just that, but it's like from what these beings explained to my dad, if they didn't throughout the eons like guide our actual evolutionary process, we would mutate out of control and die off.
Oh, wow.
And they actually showed him, like in his original experience when he was on board their light. I don't want to call it a ship. It was like a.
Well, it's like the way that I've been thinking about it is like it's like a metaphorical ship.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's a dimensional thing.
It was a vision. Like what your dad had, that experience, it's not like his physical body went somewhere, his soul did.
But that's true a lot of the times, but he was gone.
Oh yeah, well I know that he went up and was gone, but like what I'm saying is it's a spiritual experience.
Yeah.
So like and obviously if these are intelligent beings, they know that like they can't break this man's brain by showing him something he can't in any way comprehend. So
Right.
it's like it appears as like a little bubble or a ship or like, you know.
Which is why, yeah, that's a good point.
Right.
It appeared to be like he was on some sort of thing so that he could comprehend it.
Exactly.
But, you know, that's precisely the reason why he wasn't able to remember it at first. And it had to be taken out through regression because it's so traumatic to the brain to experience, you know, all this stuff, especially, you know, there was no precedent for this. No one, you know, was experiencing this. But anyway, so he always maintained they were angels. The beings said they're the guardians. They serve creation. And they basically said like they tend to life throughout time and guide the evolutionary process of all life here. And they showed him creatures like they had, and like the one that stands out to me is he had like they had like dogs with like duck bills and like all kinds of strange like morphed versions of like things we have here.
Yeah,
like it's a garden. They're just like growing life.
Yeah,
and. Okay, so 2013 comes around. This is, you know, 6 years after the initial encounter. That adds up, right? 7 and 6 is 13. I'm so bad at math.
Bro, I failed math basically every time I ever took it in my life. College, middle school, high school, all of it.
So in 2013, this gentleman's name is Norm Gagnon. He was one of the very first MUFON reporters on the case, and then he was, you know, he was the second reporter. And then he was kicked to the curb, and then they brought in the documentary crew, the government people. And his question to Dad in this article that he wrote in the MUFON Journal in 2013 was, do you believe your entity messages contradict or support your religious faith? Dad's answer was, this is the question of all questions, one that will be front and center in all of our lives soon. The question is no longer do they exist. We have to move past this. Everywhere people see the UFOs, the question now is, who are they? More pertinently, I was born and raised as a Christian, and at one time I was even a deacon in the church. I have to say my faith was severely scrambled for the longest time, beginning from the first day of the abduction. But I can now say I believe in Christ even more, but in a different way. The experience I had was I believe to be of a divine experience like Ezekiel's wheel within the wheel. I will say this, I was given a divine message that I intend to tell to all who will listen. So like I remember being a little kid and Dad telling me like after his experience, he started talking about the Bible different. Like, you know, Moses talks about Exodus and you know, in Exodus, the story of Moses, he said it talks about for 40 years in the desert, they were guided by a pillar of fire by night and a cloud by day. And, you know, again, obviously we have an esoteric approach to the Bible. We don't necessarily believe in all this stuff literally. But if you read between the lines, it's like, you know, these ancients are saying some strange fiery object is guiding us through the desert and like protecting us from our enemies. And like, that's weird. Why is that weird? Well, fast forward a little bit to 2012 when Dad and I met Dr. Diana Pasolka, professor at UNCW. That's, you know, for those who don't know, that's University of North Carolina, Wilmington. And through Dad...
Go Hawks. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Go Seahawks. Yeah, that's where my wife graduated. and my brother Jeremy. But anyway, so she happened to be a professor here, only 2 hours away from where we lived, and Dad had like been talking with her for a while. He introduced her to some people in the intelligence community, and she got involved with like research with some of these clandestine figures, and like in her book she talks about how she went to the Vatican. Point being, in her research, going to the Vatican physically, she discovered by actually having access to physical ancient manuscripts. You know, the Vatican has the original,
like the Dead Sea Scrolls and stuff.
Well, like the original, like even the Old and New Testament scrolls.
Oh,
like lots of them.
My.
And like some of these gospels, dude, there might be 5,000 manuscripts of one gospel.
Yeah. There's
like,
so much taken out.
Yes, and added. Mm-hmm. And that's like from an academic perspective, studying religion, that's why it's so mind expanding, because you learn, like, for example, the only time in the New Testament where it verbatim says, this is the gospel of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. The only verifiable time in the Bible that it actually says, I mean, in the Gospels, all the people were writing this shit later, you know, and Paul and all these other apostles that came like 150 to 100 years after Jesus' death. But in the Gospels, the only time it says this is the Son of God is the very beginning of the book of Mark. And it's like the opening to the book of Mark, but like, you know, for scholars who have access to these manuscripts and can see the lineage of these texts and how they were changed over time, that was added way, way, way after that shit was written.
Oh, yeah.
That was never in the original text.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, that's a tangent. So she determined through studying these manuscripts that any time in the Bible, when it talks about, and sure, there are some times when it will be like the rain and the sky and the clouds and the sun. Like it sometimes is talking about clouds.
Right.
But any time, and there are many times, like hundreds of times, where it'll be like God appeared before the crowds on a cloud. You know?
Oh, yeah. So many times.
The literal original word in the manuscripts was not referencing weather phenomenon. It was a word called ophanim, which there's evidence that King James, you know, the story goes in the 1600s, King James like put out the translation for the common man to have. Like King Henry, I believe the 8th, which is allegedly my ancestor, but King Henry the 8th was the guy who like started to get savvy with like using the Bible as like a control mechanism for the people and like finding value and using it publicly. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm
Let's break that down real quick. The Bible at that time was the media.
yeah.
So one of the first powers that be to take advantage of the media to manipulate the people.
The royal
still
family
exists today.
Yeah.
Just the media is different. Nobody's reading the Bible. You know what I mean? So very, very interesting there.
That's wild.
Yeah, and like if I remember correctly, I don't know if I don't think at the time of King Henry VIII even like the Bible was just you couldn't just walk around with a Bible.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
But then
no
King
way.
James came around, did his translation, which is like the old what's it called? The King James version.
Right, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
the King James version, of course. That's
You got it.
that's how many years removed I am from like going to church. But like the King James version, and like King James was the guy who like made that shit available for like the masses.
Right.
But there were edits for the masses. You see what I'm saying? And there's proof of this.
Oh, yeah,
through, you
no
know,
doubt.
these scholars studying the text. So anyway, anytime in the Bible, and I'm not talking about you can just read the King James version and see this. I'm talking like you're inside the Vatican secret archives and you have access to the lexicon.
Right.
You know, and
The
you
original.
can see the original words and get your lexicon and like you know Hebrew, you know Greek, you know Aramaic, whatever. you can see the words and like focus on them and look through your lexicon. She found that the word was ophanim, which, if you know what that is, it is actually, according to the Catholic hierarchy of angels, they believe there are 9 orders of angels.
Right.
And ophanim is what in the New Testament they would call the thrones, which is like, it always says that God, you know, or the celestial beings ride on a throne. It's like a chariot. They believe it's like a race of angels that are also like celestial chariots.
Yeah, that sounds like orbs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like that's they know, the people at the Vatican, which is like, you know, some of the most powerful people in the world, like they know what the deal is. They know that it's not just aliens. Like they know that this is an ancient spiritual phenomenon. And honestly, like it's more ancient than the Bible.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh, way before the Bible.
It's just
way before the Bible.
That's kind of like the paradigm.
Yeah.
You know, but anyway, so that's insane. And like, so Dad had his original encounter with the lady in 2012. We were negotiating a movie with the writers of The Conjuring for 9 years. That fell through for various reasons. But anyway, so in the midst of writing that, you know, script and working on that and, you know, not being allowed to speak publicly for certain amounts of time, they were doing some work to like piece the story together for a storyboard. And they got in touch with Barbara Lamb, who's like a pretty well-known like hypnotherapist who does regressions in this field.
Barbara Lamb?
Yeah, she's just a hypnotherapist, but like apparently a pretty well-known one in like the UFO world. And they facilitated a private regression with my dad and Barbara Lamb. And when he was, you know, first of all, Dad's lady experience was conscious. It wasn't like 2007 where, you know, he couldn't remember the majority of it. Like, you know, if you know the story, 2007, Dad sees the orbs. He walks down the trail. To him, only 15 minutes has passed.
Right.
He's really gone 4 hours.
4 hours.
He gets home, and then there's an entity in the yard. That's all he remembered for a year. But
Until the regression.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The 2012 experience was not like that.
Yeah.
He consciously remembered all of it.
Right, exactly.
Like he experienced it lucid.
Yeah.
Like he was there.
Uh-huh.
But he had the regression, and in the midst of all that, there were other details that surfaced that were very vivid descriptions of things that, like, when I'm speaking to him and asking him all these questions, he's not necessarily, you know, it's like, dude, if you ask somebody to tell you a story, like, let's say I asked you about your experience at the grocery store yesterday.
Yeah.
You might forget to add the part about how you went down the bread aisle. It's just how the brain works. You know,
exactly.
you don't.
You're not committing every single thing that you're doing all the time to memory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But with the regression, a lot of extra detail came up.
Right.
And it was like really profound.
Because it allows you to remember all those little details and stuff.
Exactly. Oh, by the way, dude, when I listen to those tapes from like Monroe, you know, that we talk about, I swear to you, I vividly recall memories that I'm not able to. It's
whoa,
and it's also
low key putting you in like a regression type state.
It's the same concept.
Whoa.
I mean, I've had a hypnotic regression. They just put you into an expanded state of awareness where you're not really conscious.
Whoa.
But you know, the tapes just do it for you.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the detail that surfaced that really blew my mind was when he went outside with these beings to be led by them. They removed their appearance and they were made of pure light.
Right. They like, it was almost like a decloak.
Yes.
Like right.
Yes. He always said they were cloaked, but I never, dude. I mean, I wasn't seeing them, so I could only wonder what that meant, you know? And then a few years after that, now that regression was in about 2015. And keep in mind, it's like, it's angels. We're calling them, we don't know what to call them. I never like to call them aliens because it's just not genuine. It's not true. They're angels. And, you know, we get that regression. We're seeing them as orbs. By 2015, we're seeing them like now we're seeing them like all the time. You know, all the time. And 2019 comes around, and then he has that profound experience where there's an orb that flies over the pond. It starts vibrating.
Oh,
like
right.
on a trajectory of like 10 feet up and down.
Wait, when you said this was 2019?
2019.
Yeah.
April of 2019. It was the Monday following Easter. So the day after Easter. And he watched this orb for like 18 minutes, like visibly, like it flew over the pond, and I
forgot it originally appeared as an orb.
Yeah, it came from the woods, and he was sitting there. He thought he like a lot of these orbs, you know, it's like when you see them in the sky, and you guys have seen them plenty of times, it's like, cool, you know, you're sort of desensitized to it. But then when they come real close, it's not that you're scared, but it's that they literally, and I mean literally, they invoke a physical reaction from the body. I've experienced this many times, like, you know, being touched by one and seeing them in the room and very close by and seeing them in the house, the orbs, and sometimes entities.
I've never seen one like up close. That would be wild.
It's not scary. It's intense.
Right.
I don't want to downplay it, right? But for someone who's never seen it, if you want to get the feeling, it's kind of like looking at wild animals on TV and looking at wild animals from afar. Think maybe like a bird of prey, right? You see it in the sky, it's like, whoa. But then if you like walk up on an eagle, you're like,
to me, the only
That's a good point.
The only ordinary experience in my life, and experiencing this many times, the orb thing that has ever come close to the physical sensation is like if you're in traffic and you have a very dangerous near miss and you like almost just died. That's what it feels like to see an orb up close. Like, you know,
like takes your breath away.
It yanks your breath away.
Whoa.
And like this orb is flying from the woods over the water, and Dad fell to his knees. He's like, you know, like praying, like, you know, he's fucking beholding this thing.
Yeah.
And it gets brighter, and it starts flying over the water, and it gets halfway over the water, and he's so like in awe and in shock. He thinks he's recording, but he wasn't. For 18 minutes, he sat there, or for like 9 minutes or so, he sat there and he watched it. And as it got over the water, and this all happens like that, you know,
quick.
It went over the water, and then it starts vibrating up and down 10 feet. Like imagine a 10-foot line. This orb's going fast. And it's changing colors. It's like orange, red, yellow. It's just like rapidly changing these colors really fast and blinking. And then it's like, you know, when you go to like theme parks and Disney World and shit, and you see those little toys that like they're electronic, and you push the button and it spins,
yeah.
And it's like there's a laser image in it.
Yeah.
It did that. And like it starts going so fast that it's like solid, and out of that line materialized a being. And it didn't have a face. It was made of pure light. It had like, you know, it was kind of anthropomorphic, like head, arms,
right.
legs, and it spoke to him, and it said, basically, you know, you've stayed true to your story, you've never faltered, and now we're moving into phase 2. There's going to be troubling times ahead. The world is entering the phase, what is known as like the tribulation, and just continue to tell your story. Your family's going to be blessed for what you've done, and we're going to bring you cameras and witnesses and give you undeniable proof to show to the world, to kind of like help you so that you don't have to struggle with this anymore. And, you know, all that's kind of been coming true.
Yeah.
But anyway, so after that experience in 2019, something clicked in my brain. And like, you know, in 2020, the three of us started talking about doing this podcast.
Yeah.
And I had been racking my brain. I mean, I'm telling you, man, like from experience, I know if you say alien to somebody and they have a certain limiting belief, it turns them away.
Oh, yeah.
If you say angel to somebody,
same thing,
and they have a limiting belief, you know, whether they're non-religious or religious or whatever, it turns them away. And I started thinking about it, like racking my brain, like what is a word or a phrase that I could come up with to describe these beings in a way that captures entirely their essence and what they are without any sort of religious or, you know, any sort of stigma or connotation that just gets the point across with no strings attached. Light being.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I started in about 2020, or maybe 2019. I started calling them light beings, and it stuck. And, you know, time and time again, they've shown up as pure lights, and I kind of ran with that. Like Dad never called them light beings. Like he would describe them as lights, but you know, it's weird. It's like, what do you call them?
Yeah.
I'm at a point now, especially after doing the podcast, like when people say, what's it about? What do you see? How do you describe it? Is it aliens? Is it angels? I don't say like we're the alien family. I don't say we're the angel. I just say, yeah, we're prominent in the paranormal community.
Right.
Like remember I said that last night when we were recording?
I noticed that.
I'm trying to just figure out a way to like get it out there without there being any sort of adverse reaction from the recipient. And like, it's hard.
Yeah. You got to like test, you almost have to like test people and see how they react to different words.
I've tested thousands.
Like yeah.
And I feel like
that's got to be a little stressful.
It's very stressful.
Yeah.
It's
I can imagine.
Yeah. It's like, once the genie's out of the bottle, you can't cram it back in there, dude.
And you're almost like worrying about how to like sell yourself or like pitch yourself to them or whatever. I can imagine that's pretty stressful.
So this is just me in my everyday life. And who knows, maybe this was a gift I had for this reason. But I always like, and whatever I do, I always go like off the beaten path to phrase things to like get specific reactions out of people.
Right.
A lot of times it's used in humor or whatever. In sales, it works wonders.
Yeah.
In sales, it works wonders.
That's what it's all about in sales is like those key phrases and the way that you say things enthusiastically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, since you guys brought up sales, I've been thinking about this for a long time, but there's a lot of like spirituality in sales, like what we talk about, like the manifestation, the mantra stuff, like a lot of these, what are they called? Like the public speakers, the hype up guys, right?
Like what's his name? Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins is a great example. That's all they do. It's like all of these spiritual practice, and it totally works because I started when I
motivational speakers.
Motivational speakers. Yeah. No, there's a lot going on. It's kind of wild to me, man.
No, there definitely is. But there's in there too is like a lot of exploitation as well, unfortunately.
This is not a Tony Robbins endorsement. For sure.
You getting paid, bro? You getting paid by Tony Robinson?
Well, it's Tony Robbins, but no.
Oh, Robinsons. It's Tony Robinsons.
Yo, you ever see Meet the Robinsons?
Yes,
I did. Cool movie.
I did. Casey,
totally off topic.
That was one of those movies that, like, for the first 10 years of me and Casey dating, she told me like a million times to watch it, and I never did. And then I finally did, and I was like, okay.
I'm here from the year 3000.
Jonas Brothers. Yeah. Now that was lit.
Yeah, it was.
That was lit.
And it was a remake.
Bro, I was a little emo little child listening to Jonas Brothers.
Yo, they're good.
They were slapping, dude. Camp Rock, let's go.
Yeah.
That was my era. We just jumped so hard from
I'm bringing you back.
Oh, bring me back, baby.
I've got a question for you guys.
Bring me back, baby.
Do you think that humans, and what I mean by humans is the consciousness that's trapped in this life vessel, right?
That just sums it up.
Right. Do you think that it's possible to graduate to become an angel?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So
I'm going to talk about that, like different cultural beliefs of like angels, like from the perspective of Buddhism.
I was just about to say, in Buddhism, that's the belief. That's what happens.
They're just illuminated souls.
When you reach enlightenment, and they are called Buddhas. Like they literally describe orbs in the sky, like lights in the sky.
And dude, you can go so deep with that, like in Tibetan school of Buddhism, which is like more esoteric,
Yeah.
They go so far as to say like all these techniques to cultivate rainbow body. Or like as Helena Blavatsky or Rudolf Steiner or all these like Western esotericists would say, the light body or the astral body, like or the Gnostics, it's like it's all about creating the light body so that you truly become eternal in the sense that, I mean, you're already eternal, but you're kind of like under the illusion of not being eternal because you're reincarnating here over and over and over.
You're still trapped in the cycle.
You're trapped in the cycle
of reincarnation. Yeah.
But the concept is that like once you develop the light body, you're free from that cycle and you kind of like ascend, and if it's your prerogative if you want to come back and help others, but it's like there's even more evolution in that, but we'll get to that because I did want to talk about cultural beliefs of angels. But
bro, I have to change one of the lyrics in one of our songs based on something you just said, so you go right ahead.
Which song?
Smaragdi.
Oh hell yeah,
because you remember I have a thing in there about the infinite cycle. I'm gonna change one word. Okay.
Nice.
Sorry. I had to say that.
So back to the Ophanim thing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to. I wanted to set.
I was going to ask, is one of those 9 Nephilim?
No,
Oh, really? Because Ophanim...
those aren't angels. Those are according to the belief.
It's like a hybrid?
Yeah, it's like there's so much convoluted shit about Nephilim. It's like
Yeah.
that word is only in the Bible once, and then there are just all these rampant conspiracy theories about it. The idea behind Nephilim is like, okay, the demons in the Bible came down to earth and started physically mating with women.
That's right.
And they had, it's like
The Nephilim.
yeah,
That's trending right now, at least on my Twitter circle.
it's
Nephilim?
very trending.
Yeah, the whole story. The book. It's like the Book of Enoch.
Enoch,
Yeah, it's very true. I have
Yo,
the
we
9
had a
pulled up. By
we
the
had
way.
a band. We had a band called Watching the Watchers because that's what those were called. The
Watchers.
Nephilim. They were called the Watchers.
The parents of the Nephilim.
Oh, right. That's what I meant.
Fallen,
that's what I meant. Right, the fallen angels.
the Nephilim. No, you might be right. I think the Nephilim were the Watchers. Yeah,
I'm
and it was
pretty
their
sure
children that were the abominations.
Yes.
Either way, it's like it's all speculation. Like,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I have the order of angels.
Oh, I want to hear it.
Sure.
Seraphim, top. So we're going top down. Seraphim,
Those are in the throne room of God.
cherub, thrones, dominions, virtues, powers, archangels, principalities, angels.
Dang, archangels are lower than I thought they would be. They're pretty low.
It's like
Fucking
I don't.
weak-ass
It's
archangels.
not like a power scale.
Well-
It's like a function. It's like a role.
Oh, dude, I'm anime brain right now. My bad.
Yeah.
This is all like, but this is a human-made list.
That's facts.
It's
That's
not
true.
like
Yeah,
the-
that's,
Yeah,
that's
it's not like a power scale.
Bro, listen, okay, I watched a lot of fantasy and I know how to suspend my disbelief. So I immediately believed you.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, that's crazy, dude.
Yeah, archangels are weak.
Yeah, they're weak as fuck.
No, but yeah, and then like I also wanted to get into. I forgot we were even going to go into this about how like the idea of angels in the ancient past was like forces of nature and like these mighty powerful beings, and then by the Renaissance era, all these like all these enlightened painters are painting them as like cutesy little kids with like the cushy butts and the wings,
Yeah.
and like the male angels are like these. These
buff.
masculine knights.
Jacked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these masculine knights with like flaming swords and like
And natty lights.
and Roman armor.
Well,
Yeah.
That makes me want to be an angel. You
Oh
know
my
what I'm saying?
God. Of course it does, Alex.
I think the most accurate depiction of angels ever is Angels in the Outfield.
Danny Glover.
Well, Christopher Lloyd's the angel.
Oh, right.
Danny Glover's the coach.
That's right.
Yeah, dude, that's a great movie. I love
yeah,
that.
Very
You know
nostalgic.
that's Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the kid.
Whoa, that's crazy. But I see it now.
We are going to do a baseball episode one day.
What? Whoa,
We'll see about that.
Wait. Yeah, we'll see about that. Get fucked.
You want to tell that story?
Yes, please. That was hilarious.
Nick, you can tell it better than
You want me to tell it?
Tell it, Nick.
Oh my God, bro. This was hilarious. We're just like driving down the road. Me and Alex are sitting in the back seat. Ryan's driving. And I think we were going out to eat or
No,
something.
the
we
escape
were going
room.
to the escape room.
That's right. We were going to the escape room. And we were talking about video games. And Alex is like, yeah, man, I just like sports games. Like, that's just my thing. I just really like sports games. Like maybe a second or two of like silence. And then Ryan just goes, get fucked. We just ragged on him because it's like, that's not real games, bro. You're lame. Alex is like a jock, so we have to flip the script on him and like make fun of him for being a jock sometimes.
But really, it's just
Sometimes.
insecurity.
Exactly. We're just trying desperately to claw at any status we can put over him.
Yeah, so y'all are like, y'all are full tilt into the Harry Potter.
Yes.
Nick, what am I into hard right now?
What?
Oh,
What are you talking about?
The video game?
Nintendo Switch Golf.
Oh, bro. Hold up. Okay, another little tangent real quick. Alex stayed at me and Casey's place, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that?
Yeah.
We woke up the next morning, and for like 5 hours straight, Alex was like, yo, y'all want to play Switch Sports Golf? And I had never played it. Bro, this man is a prodigy. He's going to start a Twitch channel where he just dresses in full golfer gear and drinks beer and yells while he plays Switch Sports Golf. Isn't that right, Alex?
I'm conceptualizing that right now.
Yeah, let's go.
I mean, I hate to toot my own horn, but I'm cracked.
Oh, he's insane. Dude, I thought I was good because I get like maybe 1 over par at the end of the course or whatever. Alex is like 8 under, 10 under, 16 under. What's the best you've done?
PR right now is 18 under on 18.
What the fuck?
You got an albatross yesterday, didn't you?
I got 2 albatrosses.
Wait, hold up. What's an albatross? Hold
You
on.
know what a birdie is?
It's
Yes.
2
Albatross
shots.
is even better.
I thought that was eagle.
No, yeah, eagle's better than birdie.
Uh-huh.
Eagle is 2 shots on a par 4.
Right.
Albatross is 2 shots on a par 5.
Oh my God, bro. That's insane. Okay, so everybody out there, look out for that. And also encourage Alex to do it because I want to see it really bad. I want to see you do that on Twitch.
Yeah, I need a little push. So if you want to see
yes.
Nintendo Switch Golf stream,
Come on now.
just give me a push.
That
Thank you.
That's
guys,
like downright
hold on.
ASMR.
But hey, Alex, close your ears. Don't listen to
say
this. Don't listen to this. Everybody, you know you have to do this because it would be hilarious and the meme potential. Come on. Tell him to do it. Okay, you can do it now. Good. I'm glad. Okay, we
I'm trying to
derailed
say the
hard.
word. That would be like ASMR. I was struggling to say that. for some
ASMR?
reason. Yeah, it's just like relaxing, just like watching, like, you know, like when you turn on like the fireplace videos on YouTube. It's like that. It's like just ambiance.
Except he's drunk and screaming while he's playing golf.
Alex Sports Mad.
Alex Sports Mad? Let's do it.
Right
Come
now.
on. Let's go right
No,
now.
but like, yeah,
ASMR.
like that's totally, you know, there's. First of all, it's ridiculous to like gatekeep games, and it's like, there's like a meme in the video game community like, bro, you're not a real gamer, you only play FIFA and Madden.
Yeah,
So that's what I was rolling with.
Exactly.
Oh, you like FIFA?
Get fucked.
You're not a real gamer, bro.
So now that's like Alex's favorite thing. Every single time I've seen Alex since that happened, he'll just randomly at some point just go, get fucked. It's his new catchphrase.
That might be the first time I've actually hard derailed this show.
Yeah! First for everything, y'all.
Sorry, guys.
I
Back to
don't know-
Angels.
I have no idea how we got there, but that was great.
Yeah,
That was a nice little vacation.
wherever I go, there I am. You know, like there are no rules.
Damn, son.
Oh, the ophonym, alternatively spelled ophonym, or also called galgalim, refer to the wheels seen in Ezekiel's vision and the chariot in Ezekiel 1:15-21. I wanted to go over that.
Wait, so Ophanim and Galgalim are the same?
The alternative name for angels is galgalim. And like in Aramaic or in Hebrew, anytime they have a description of some sort of being, like you notice how, okay, so like a singular entity would be like malak, a messenger. And then when you're talking about them in plural, it's malakim.
Okay, I got you. So then,
So ophanim, it's just a stupid little nerdy language thing.
I love that.
In Judaism, angels are referred to as malakim, which means the messengers. So like the literal translation of the word angel is just messengers. They're like messengers that come from another reality and have some divine interpretation to give to people.
Yeah.
And like that's the thing is like throughout the Renaissance era, these artists started painting angels as these big buff people or like these cutesy little kids, and like I feel like there's been such a negative spin on this word or this concept for so many years, but like I think it's cool.
I love
You know,
it.
I think angels are cool.
I agree. Like even in everything I've ever, every popular media thing I've seen, angels are always depicted pretty dope, dude. Like
Yeah.
I think they're awesome. But it's like, come on, if you actually think it's like a buff dude with like a great sword, probably not. It's okay, Alex. It's all right. You'll get over it. Yeah. It's just like that's again, just like I was saying about your dad earlier in the ship. It's like that's what we can understand with our brains. That's how we understand power. When a human thinks of a powerful being, they think big muscles equal power.
Okay, what time are we at, Alex?
We got about 10, 15 more minutes.
Okay, so I have a lot more like different cultural interpretations, so I'm just going to blow through some of these.
Awesome.
Kind of like a lightning round.
Awesome.
Just talk about how different cultures
Like
describe
speed dating, but angels.
them. Yeah. Speed rating. No, that didn't work. All right. It was Christianity that developed angels into more fixed figures with human-like personas and unique personalities. I already went into this, but like how the Vatican and the Renaissance artists, like basically, whether it was intentional or not, they totally destroyed our concept of like divine beings and like almost made it like, to the modern mind, it's like, that's not believable. They've essentially like waved a wand and just ruined our understanding of divine messengers. But in other cultures, they have pretty cool interpretations. So angels also appear in Eastern religions, such as Hinduism. But the only similarity they bear to their Western counterparts is their identity as spiritual facilitators and how they interact with people. It's obvious that in Eastern cultures they don't have the word angel. That's like a Hebrew Aramaic word.
Sure.
The original word.
Sure.
Malak, Malakim, whatever. So they have their own words for them, like devas. Devas are spiritual guardians who watch over people and facilitate their process of becoming one with the universe.
Wow.
So,
same thing.
They are believed to inhabit the higher astral plane. And they are sometimes worshipped in Hinduism as like minor deities.
Wow.
Buddhism, this is my favorite interpretation, and I think it's pretty much very close to the truth of what's going on here.
Yeah.
In Buddhism, angelic beings are referred to as devas. This is where I disagree. They say they are not immortal, but rather they are souls who have reincarnated into a higher spiritual plane. I believe half of that is true, and then half of it needs a little editing.
Sure.
Every soul is immortal,
right?
Technically, in the cosmic scheme of things,
right.
But you can't just kill an angel. That.
Yeah, you can't kill a soul.
It's not like spiritual beings are like going to battle like that. It's awareness. It's like it's complicated, but
it is very complicated.
I agree with this statement that as we live through lives seeking illumination, essentially we reach that point to where we become these beings. And this is why I believe that, because the lady told Dad, she said that when you die, you become as we are. Your soul goes on the journey. It could go wherever it wants to go. You go into these orbs and become as we are.
Wow.
We're like, when you think about it out of the box, it's almost like those beings are us in the future.
Yeah, totally. That's exactly.
But the future is like non-linear cosmic timing,
right? Because time is completely made up by us.
But it's like it's kind of like us.
Yeah, totally. Like the 2001 thing, But
the psyop, the conspiracy is like grays are us from the future.
Yeah.
But like we were destroyed through like evolution and global warming and whatever, crops can't sustain life on here anymore, and we mutated and created these android forms. I think they're just trying to muddy the truth.
Yeah, I don't get that, man. These days, every time I see something with like grays or like people will share these pictures that are like of like alien bodies, and it's like, dude, that is clay. Like you can literally see like
Power Rangers putty.
Yeah,
prosthetic.
Exactly. Like, bro, that was made in some prop room. Like it's so insanely obvious, but like. Bro, I'm seeing lights do things in the sky that I can't even fathom how it's possible. I can look at a picture of a supposed alien body and think of a million ways that picture became possible. You know what I'm saying? It's like not even a question to me. And so I think some people out there are intentionally using it to muddy the waters.
But Nick, they just shot something down over Lasker.
Lasker?
Do you remember by the time this episode airs, the disclosure, no, it was something different. Like different from the Chinese balloon. There's already more stuff.
Whoa.
They did a Pentagon press briefing yesterday from today's recording date, not from air date. And they literally went on TV and talk about how they shot down some object over Alaska. But it's beginning. Exactly what we talked about in the disclosure episode.
Yeah.
By the time this episode airs, that episode will be out. But we recorded the disclosure episode and then we pushed it a month.
Yeah.
But if you think all the way back, what did we say? They're going to be creating fake celestial events. Mm-hmm. It's beginning.
Controlled disclosure.
Yep. Exactly.
It's like everybody said it would take the form of, definitely. Everybody said it would take the form of like Project Blue Beam. They're going to put holograms in the sky of UFOs, but I think it's more like what we're seeing. It's like, oh, weather balloons, they shoot that down. Is it a spy balloon? Is it a weather balloon? Oh, object over Alaska, object in Russia. They're what they're doing is I think they're trying to stain it into the psyche of humans that when we look up and we see this so to speak, the secret war going on in the sky. They want to trick us into believing, like when we look up, it's what they're telling us we're seeing. Because they know, especially with Dad's book coming out.
Yeah.
By the time this episode airs, the book's probably out. But in the end of Dad's book, it literally says, because by now this will be out so I can say it, it literally, the last word of the book says, go outside, look up into the night sky, humble yourself before the heavens and say, I am here, and you just might see something.
Damn.
They know that.
Oh yeah. 100%. And if they can like, nudge us in a direction of believing that is something
Spy balloons or whatever.
Right.
They want us to think that we are a speck on a speck on a speck. That we're nothing.
Yeah.
When the reality is that what the life force inside of you is immortal.
We are
as you're
everything.
saying, and you have the ability, essentially, to become
one of
these
those
angelic beings in the sky.
Yeah.
You are not a speck on a speck on a speck. You are an immortal light being.
Yeah.
That has
That's it.
power.
And if they can prevent us from knowing that, they want to. And man, look, I usually don't like to have my tinfoil hat on too tight, but I will say, the more this becomes a part of conversation, the scarier it is. Like the whole idea of putting your consciousness into a machine.
Oh yeah.
That's like a spiritual trap.
Yeah.
Like there's all these parables throughout different mythologies about creatures that devour souls. That sounds like
Yeah, definitely.
You think signing onto a record label selling out?
Shout out Leo.
Yeah. Hopefully that gets to air. Yeah. So let's blow through these and then we'll wrap up. So they can only be seen. The devas are invisible to the spiritual human eye. The human eye. They exist on the higher astral realm. They can only be seen by the spiritually awakened. What does that sound like? The orbs.
Absolutely.
Like they only appear to people at the right time when they're going through some sort of trauma or some sort of significant circumstance.
Yeah.
Not everybody can just walk out and see them. You have to be ready. You have to be, I guess, according to Buddhism, you have to be awakened.
Yeah, like Amy was describing, it's like you have to be vibrating at a certain frequency to be able to see that, and it's the frequency of openness, willingness, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's like all this ancient spiritual stuff is literally right in line with what the entities told Dad. You have to be spiritually awakened. The ones who might benefit from their communion. Oh, let me reread that. They can only be seen by the spiritually awakened who might benefit from their communion with the Deva by achieving spiritual enlightenment. They can appear in physical form. They can shine with their own illumination, move great distances, perhaps either by flying or riding a chariot, Now, in Japan and China, there were supernatural beings called Tennin who have been compared to angels, nymphs, and fairy folks of the Western world. Their colorful feathered kimonos facilitate their flying powers, or they may have flying wings. They appear frequently in tales, or they come to Earth, marry a mortal, and perhaps return to their own reality once they are discovered. There are also spirit-like beings in Shintoism. I had to include this, bruh. There were beings in Shintoism referred to as kami, spirits embodied in the landscape, such as a river or mountain. Kami means God in Japan.
Yeah, right. Like the kami house.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's God.
That's so
think about it. Kami's like the god of the earth. No, that's Kame house.
Kame.
K-A-M-E.
Kame means turtle, right?
But remember, Kami, like Piccolo's other half, he's like the god of earth.
And like Kami is also like a title.
Like God.
Exactly. It's like if one of them goes away, there has to be another one. Yeah, it's like the supreme angelic being.
I included that one for fun.
I love that.
The Japanese and Chinese one. I think we have only a couple more and then we'll wrap up. A fairy. This is popular in UFO folklore because I think maybe Jacques Vallée is the one who like kind of imprinted this in the consciousness of the conversation, but I think it's brilliant. Fairy, also known as fae. There's so many different spellings of this, like F-A-Y. By the way, bro, both of my grandmother's names are Faye.
It's wild.
I didn't realize that till recently. Like, oh my God. Both of their middle names are Faye, by the way. It's not even their first names.
Very, very synchronistic.
Shirley Faye and Carrie Faye.
Wild.
And you want to know another crazy thing that I just realized like the other day? Now, as of, moving forward, both of my names are authors.
What do you mean?
Dickens and Bledsoe.
Oh, nice.
My middle name is Dickens,
I love
and
that.
that's my mother's middle name.
Yeah.
It's just weird little synchronicity there. The Fae is a type of mythical being, typically from like Irish folklore.
Yeah.
A legendary creature found in the folklore of multiple European cultures, including Celtic, that's like kind of Irish,
Sure.
Gaelic, Slavic, Germanic, English, and French, a form of spirit often described as a metaphysical, supernatural, or preternatural being. Jinn, Arabic, also romanized as jinn with a D in front of it, anglicized as genies, invisible creatures in early pre-Islamic Arabian religious systems and later in Islamic mythology and theology. Like humans, they are accountable for their deeds, can be either believers or unbelievers, depending on whether they accept God's guidance. One thing I really like is I think it's Irish folklore. I didn't like write this down. I could be totally wrong here. Maybe it's Norse. But there was also an ancient culture who believed there were these supernatural beings that, like, you know, did all what these beings are described as, but they were like where elves come from. Like the terminology of elves. It could be Irish. It could be Norse. I'm really blanking on that. But, bro, you know what Tim Taylor told us?
What?
He told us that every single super genius currently and like throughout history who had some sort of profound like eureka breakthrough, it was provided to them through some sort of entity communication. And he said, think about the word genius. And it's like, it's like a genie on your shoulder. It's speaking to you. It's giving you, you know, revelations. Like they know, like in the Pentagon, they know that super genius type people are highly psychic, and many times, like my dad and like others, we know entities will show up at like Tim, for example. He had like $1 billion patent. I don't think this is in American Cosmic. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't read it. Probably never will. But he said that literally an entity appeared in the room, flashed an image in his mind of a patent. He went and developed it. It was $1 billion successful cutting edge patent. And he got questioned by the Pentagon. They're like, how did you come up with this? How can you explain this? This is advanced beyond our understanding. And he had to tell the Pentagon, a hooded entity appeared in my room and flashed it in my mind. And he told us, like, that's not uncommon amongst the super genius.
I totally believe it. It's like one step above like a psychic download.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's coming from the source, but it's coming to you from an entity.
It was communicated to us by some of our mutual government friends. I've personally never met Jacques Vallée, but you know he's responsible, like in the 1980s, he created the ARPANET.
Right.
For those who don't know, that's the precursor to the internet.
To the internet, yeah.
It was told to us that was given to him as a gift by some sort of communication. And when you think about it, it's like basically injecting an advanced form of consciousness. Like it's a living mind. Like,
and it's also something that would absolutely influence human consciousness to accelerate, because now think about, like, the internet is integral into the human consciousness at this point. Like, it is everywhere.
I think it's responsible for the awakening.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it very well.
It's like a ethereal superhighway of knowledge and information at light speed that we can communicate freely and openly around the world instantaneously. And like the information can hardly be suppressed anymore.
Right.
Last thing I'm going to say, and then we really need to get going. Merkaba mysticism. This is super cool. So in Old Testament times, there was a group of secretive Jewish mystics who had esoteric beliefs about the Merkaba, which Merkaba in itself is an esoteric word because it comes from 3 words. I can't remember the languages. We've already talked about this in a previous episode, but it's like Ka is the Egyptian word for spirit. Ba, I don't remember exactly what Egyptian word that is. And then Mer, but it's like light spirit body, essentially. Like Merkaba. It's the merging of these 3 root words to talk about the concept of like the light spirit body.
Wow.
And these people, according to this, Merkaba is also, in Hebrew, means chariot. Merkaba mysticism is a school of early Jewish mysticism, 100 BCE to 1000 CE. So this is like Jesus times, 100 BC, up to 1000. Centered on visions such as those found in the book of Ezekiel or in the Hekalat literature, whatever that is, concerning story of ascents to the heavenly palaces and the throne of God. The main corpus of the Merkaba literature was composed in the period of 200 to 700 CE, although later references to the chariot tradition can also be found in the literature of the Chassidiae Ashkenaz in the Middle Ages. The whole point I bring that up is to say, like, in ancient times, there were esoteric groups of mystics worshiping angels as beings that bring illumination and knowledge and travel around on like these mystical chariots. They're angels, bro. They're not aliens. They are angels.
Yeah, and it's just particularly wild that every culture in the world describes them almost identically. Like, there are very few things, even in mysticism, that line up so perfectly. Almost, like, pretty much every culture that we went over describes them in the same exact way.
Some of them might make them pretty. Like in Japan, they have beautiful kimonos. It's metaphor.
Yeah, exactly.
It's imagination.
They're described as the same. It's a spirit messenger that's here to guide human consciousness towards evolution.
To close it out, it's like what I'm realizing with this subject and really just racking my brain thinking out of the box, it's a language problem. Mm-hmm. It's a war of language. And the powers that be are using this language to convince you that it is some sort of unidentified threat that we need to fear and be afraid of. But like the truth is, if you understand how the ancients were describing this with their language, they are beings who come from higher realms to bring us illumination and show us the way. And that's exactly what they told my dad. So it's like, it's a language war.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really what it is. It boils down to language. So that's why I like the name Light Being. I think it's a very...
It's all-encompassing.
It's all-encompassing. It's linguistically pleasing. And that's all I got.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, hell yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Let's do it. 1, 2, 3.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more, check out our other videos.
And before you go, don't forget to subscribe. See you next week. Peace.